about preparation. So today, as we talk about the parish development model, which happens to be another P, preparation. From the things we're seeing right now, on the floor of Parliament, a report was given by one of the committees to the effect that, the money that government said was supposed to go for parish development model is actually not going to the parishes, to the tune government had promised. Had government really prepared for this parish development model? Because at the very beginning, many people said, this was rushed. Were there feasibility studies and what have you? Why didn't they pilot? Is it now coming out that probably government rushed?
Of course, in the planning of government, we have different books and different steps that we follow to have the program being implemented. Of course, if I can begin with the 3-year rolling development plan, then as now, of course, this went to the manifesto of the National Resistance Movement. When we are campaigning, we talked about this. Then afterward, this has to be implemented by government by having it in the budget. Yeah, because if you have it in your manifesto and it's not included in the budget, of course, definitely you'll not be able to have such. But of course, we've been having different programs even before. We had the Plan for Modernization of Agriculture. You have the Bonaba Gagawale program, the Prosperity for All. We've had different programs of youth livelihood. Personally, I've ever benefited from a program when I was just going out of the university. It was called Youth Entrepreneur Scheme. And that was also a plan, that was also a program, and actually I'm one of the beneficiaries. I was given, actually, it was a loan, a soft loan of 450,000 shillings. And my parish, I was born in a parish called Inamigavu. Of course, afterward, we got a small one called Chukunyu. But I began a school, my secondary school. The person who became afterwards...
With 450,000?
The 450,000 shillings. By then, that was in 2000. I finished university in 2000, but this loan was given to me in 1998. By that time, we were buying iron sheets at 3,000 shillings, gauge 32, and that's all what I wanted. I wanted only iron sheets. There was land, and I would get free poles. So, and I bought 150 iron sheets out of 450,000. Be like the equivalent of 4.5 million shillings now, because now an iron sheet is on 30,000 shillings. So that's how inflation goes on, and because you see the amount of thing that would have bought in the 400,000 shillings then, that is 1990. So I began a school, and since that school is called Success Secondary School, that's what I am, and it made me what I am today, because I began a school at my parish. I educated very many people. Actually, virtually in my village, it's very difficult to find a village without somebody I've ever sponsored as a person in my school and even other schools. But basically, that school gave me a very big foundation. Why am I saying this? That these programs, they have two challenges. One is that government looks at them as seeds, and the recipients at times look at them as grain. Difference between a grain in Uganda, one is mpeke, another is nsigo. A seed is supposed to be planted. A grain is supposed to be eaten. But before a program, when government is cooking these programs, I think what is in the mind is that this should be a seed. But most 90% or 85% of the recipients, they are looking at it as a grain. And when you go to the village, people say, but we've already, now when I bring the parish development model, we can, so that we can also have a share on it. So that one. But in terms of preparation, to me, I would think that we still needed more time for this, for the implementation of the parish development model. One is that, of course, government has a term of 5 years. And the program was that we needed at least to have 5 years, and every year to have 100 million shillings. And that was the promise that we did in the when we were campaigning. And you know, a manifesto is the promise that you've given the people. And we had told them that we are going to give you 100 million shillings per year. And that will be 500 million shillings at the end of the term.
You got there, voted, now you're giving them less money.
Yes. So now, of course, when it came to the implementation, you know, the economy had just come out of COVID and the preparation was not very okay. Said, okay, let's begin with 17 million shillings. Then afterwards, of course, when we were launching, we are going after Kibuku, went to other districts, the Prime Minister was moving. After we went to some districts, and some districts were saying, no, but we received 7 million shillings. The Prime Minister and government officers were telling us, yes, you've received 7 million shillings, but the 10 million shillings will be added on the 100 million shillings that is going to be received in the next financial year. That means you'll be receiving 110. So the 10 million shillings is going to be carried forward so that it's like a debt, and it will be 110 million shillings. But of course, that 100 million shillings was not supposed to come once. It was supposed to come in two phases. Of course, phase one, that is the first and the second quarter, 50 million shillings. The third and fourth quarter, 50 million shillings. That makes it 100. Of course, the recent communication by Parliament, the Parliamentary Committee and all this. But besides all this, I look at the intention and the objective of the program. I look at the program targeting 3.5 million households, not homesteads, but households who are living on subsistence. People are growing for the stomach, as the president always puts it. And the program is targeting 3.5 million families. Now, where are these families? Do you have a record of them? If you look at my parish called Chikuny, where I come from, how many are these? Do we know them? Because if you are targeting, and if you are targeting 3.5 million shillings, how comes the figure is the same to all parishes? Yeah. Because it cannot be that all parishes are at the same economic, standards. That's the minister, chairman of, I think is the chairman of Bushen, was saying, if this money is coming for people who are growing the stomach, this money is not for Bushenyi district. We don't have such families. Actually, I could even say the same in my parish, because since then, when I began,
you have no poor people in your parish.
That I don't even earn. I think I don't have such. If I have, they don't want to earn. Because earning is not just giving somebody money. This program is supposed to be redesigned. Because if you are targeting 3.5 million shillings, first know where are they? Because out of the 3.5 million shillings, maybe 500 of them, they're in Karamoja. If I take a parish called Karapata, in a sub-county called Karapata in Kabongo district, and I compare one parish with my parish, they don't compare at all. Right. You cannot give us the same money with the parish in Karapata and Chikuny parish, because my people, even when as growing vegetables alone, they can earn money on a daily basis. So I was looking at this, and of course, apart from saying, and at the end of the day, the president came out and said, we are going to give 1 million shillings per family. And kickstarting, if I am to be kickstarted, I cannot be kickstarted the same way, Gabdelu can be kickstarted with 1 million shillings. Because, somebody, I've seen, and I think all this time should give government time, the lead of government business, to rethink about this program. Otherwise, if we don't, this program is going to also to waste the money, and government is going to waste the money as we waste the money before in some other programs. And to make matters worse, you cannot even tell me that you've even removed the money for the seeds. Coffee Development Authority will not be giving out seedlings, NADS will not be giving out seeds, and everything is going to be compounded under parish development model. Because, of course, when you do that, that means once it fails, that means every other program is going to be, it's going to fail. We are waiting, but to me, there were still some few gaps that needed to be filled by government. And I know probably the lead of government business should look into this critical and see that we can present a better program.
All right, all right. Thank you for starting us off. Jen, I'd like to come to you, really starting on whether we were prepared. Was government prepared enough for the parish development model from the things that you see play out right now?
Okay, thank you so much, Gabriel. And good evening, our viewers. I'm so happy to be here discussing this very important issue of the PDM. Because the PDM has been put out as a silver bullet, you know, to address the many challenges at the parish level, you know. But regarding your question, it depends on what the objective of the PDM is really. Because when I hear what I hear from the honorable about, you know, giving money, giving 1 million, saying it was an NRM program, you know, maybe if it's about giving people money, then there's no need to prepare. But when you look at what's happening today with the PDM, there is a lot, and I agree entirely with the honorable, there is a lot of unpreparedness. Even the policymakers, because when it was rolled out, you remember the members of parliament went to their constituencies. Yes. And most of them even failed to tell their constituencies what the PDM was about. And you don't blame them, because the PDM is like an elephant to a pygmy, or maybe a blind person. You touch the ear and you say, oh, it's so flappy. You touch the tail, it's small, you know, because there is it's shifting. Because at the end of the day, it has zeroed on a revolving fund. Like PDM is about money, you know. Form circles, we give you money. Form circles, we give you money. But when you look at the pillars, there are the pillars around production, pillars around storage, pillars around marketing, and they don't talk about that. And also, for me, what I also have observed about the PDM is the fact that it's like they are creating a parallel structure. They already new structures, you know, committees, you know, because already when we talk about, like Honorable was saying, we talk about production and productivity. Ministry of Agriculture is there. You talk about marketing. We have Ministry of Trade. We have Uganda Export Promotion Board. Those are not there, you know. So they are parallel processes which are going on. And for me, I think the PDM, if it was food, it should still be in the kitchen being cooked, you know. And I think we need really to have a more deeper, broad-based debate around these programs, whether they are really value for money and whether they serve the purpose. Because when you look at the reality on the ground in the at the household level, and you ask yourself, what's the challenge facing the households and the parishes? And I agree entirely with Honorable that it's important to talk about production, productivity, and marketing. But where I differ from him is when you say farmers should do this, farmers should talk about, you know, be aware of production. And how are they going to be aware of that? How are farmers going to increase their productivity, you know, when they're still using a hoe? Remember way back, there was a budget when they had promised that at each parish, or is it sub-county, there will be 2 tractors. They are not there. You look for a tractor, you can't get it. Somebody's using...
2 budgets after that, they promised hose and gave hose.
They gave hose, you know. So how you talk about productivity? How is somebody going to increase productivity when you're using a hoe? You know, when the seeds, and people don't know even where to buy seeds and what kind of seeds to buy. You know, there are no extension workers. I was asking a friend who works on issues of agriculture, was saying that he was telling me we have around 3,900 extension workers throughout the country, you know. So how are people going to know the spacing you are talking about, that this is how you space? And when it comes to marketing, where are they going to market their produce? You know, maybe to middlemen. You know, you look at today, you talked about maize increasing, you know, but the price fluctuates every day. You start planting today, farmers don't know how, when they are harvesting, how much their maize is go to sell for the price. They don't know, you know. Any thinking person will say, I'm not going to go into maize, because you can't know, you can't plan, you can't predict. But what we need to ask ourselves, when you look at all those challenges, will the PDM be able to address those challenges? You know, because at the end of the day, if we are to get out of poverty, the diagnosis has to be clear. You know, I keep telling people that an economy is like a person. You know, if a person is ailing, it's the same as an economy ailing. You know, you need to know why is this economy or why is this person ailing. You know, and we shouldn't look at the symptoms and address the symptoms instead of looking at the core problem, you know. So unless we do that diagnosis properly, then the prescription will be wrong. Every time we say now PMA, now Nabagagawale, now PDM, you know. And the challenge is that we are losing money. This is taxpayers' money, and it will just go like that, and people will remain poor, and the country will also remain poor. Because when we talk about poor people, the country is also poor, because the country is indebted. So if we are looking at silver bullets, I think we need to take some time really to be able to discuss how do we get out of these challenges we are facing. And I don't think we should be looking at one silver bullet, you know. It's we are looking at a number of challenges, and the solutions should be coherent, but not just one, that PDM, that's the silver bullet. Okay.
All right. Well, and as civil society, part of what you do is you interact with the public. You interact with the people on the ground. And what have you found in relation to the funds, the complaints that have been brought before Parliament in relation to the monies being received being lower than what had been, you know, promised? On the ground, what are people saying, and what are they attributing this to?
On the ground, there are a number of issues coming up. One is even forming circles. People are just coming together, you know, to form circles. It's like we are here and we say, Gabriel, Honorable, you come and you form a circle. And I don't think such circles will, you know, will be, they will live, you know, they will persevere really, because we don't have anything in common. What we have in common is to be able to access that money. So what happens when we get the money? When
you finish accessing, divide it, and everybody goes their direction.
Their own way, you know. So that's one of the issues coming up. Then two, the issue of money, for example, going to other things like paying salaries, and you know, you saw that, what is it, Amuru?
Yes. And
that's happening also in other areas, because people don't know. Even the policymakers and implementers don't know exactly where to put the money, you know. They will tell people, but we won't give you because you don't have circles. But where are they going to keep that money? Is it going to come back because it's already at the district, you know? So it's a mess, out there. And for me, what I think really, this program should be halted. And it doesn't mean that if it's halted, there's going to be a problem. Because all these issues which are being handled by PDM, you know, for example, take an example of the revolving fund. You know, I think we need to look at a more sustainable way, more long-term sustainable way of addressing the issues in the PDM. For example, revolving fund is about ensuring that people have access to maybe to money which they can be able to use to invest in their businesses, you know, in their small businesses. That's very, very short term, you know, very short term, because like you are saying, we divide the money our own way, right. You know. So we, as a country, I think we need to think bigger, because the whole issue of access to credit is not just at the parish level. It's also at the level of our business people, you know, or the MSMEs. They have a challenge of access to credit. And when you look at government is borrow money, put in agricultural credit facility, that's in Bank of Uganda, put some monies in Post Bank and other banks, put some money in UDB, but that's borrowed money, you know. So what we need to do when it comes to addressing issues of access to credit, let us look at reorganizing the banking sector. And I remember Professor Sruma raised this issue, that there is no way we are going to develop when we don't have our own bank, because the banking sector is not ours. And the moment you have a banking sector or a financial sector which is not yours, you know, that's why the interest rates will go up, the capital flight will go up, because the financial sector mobilizes resources, you know, among the people. And that money goes out. They lend to the bank. They are not going to lend to business people, you know. So unless we look at it broadly and in the long term, we continue doing these little things which are not going to help.
Okay. Well, he did raise an issue earlier in relation to the parishes and the blanket application. And this is something that has been spoken about severally, but government has continued to implement the parish development model in that style, where each parish will be entitled to receive the same amount of money, regardless of, you know, the demographic, you know, differences in the parish, the level of, you know, poverty or wealth in the parish. They'll still be entitled to the very same. Your comment on that?
And I think that's, you know, we always talk about issues of equity, you know. You can't say a parish in Muyenga, you know, you are going to give that. In fact, what Honorable was saying, that somebody in Bushenyi was saying, I think that money shouldn't come to us because we don't have that kind of people, you know. So you can't say maybe even in Muyenga, you know, you give a parish in Muyenga and another parish, like Honorable was saying, in Karamoja, you know. And that shows the lack of preparedness when it comes to PDM. But again, at the end of that day, for me, I think we need to think bigger beyond the PDM. Because for some people to say that, oh, that money shouldn't come to us, for us, we are better, you know, it's like one, you know, being a one-eyed among the blind. Because the entire country, we are poor, we are struggling, you know, and we might not need that money, but we all need money. We need resources as individuals, as household, and as a country, you know. But even that, For some people to say, for us, we don't need that money. It also shows that lack of preparedness, that you have a blanket initiative and you are just going to dish out money. And to go to what Honorable was saying, do they have information? Who needs that money? You know, not maybe every parish needs such intervention.
Right.
Some parishes have moved a higher level that maybe they just need markets. They're already producing. There are no viable markets. Some parishes, they just want processing. We want processing. We already producing. You know, so that kind of planning will require having information. And today the biggest issue, people are saying they are poor people, but which poor people? And you remember when we had, during COVID, when they were giving out food, government didn't even know whom to give the food, you know. And I remember in my place, some people were saying they were knocking on their gates and people say, we don't want to be bothered. You know, please take that food. You know, I can't, you know, and everybody was saying there are people who need this food, but people are going knocking on
gates.
On gates, you know.
All right. Well, just before we leave the issue of being prepared, because this is being implemented at the parish, and the parish chief is key implementation, there's a level of preparation that, you know, really looks at whether the parish chiefs are prepared, the parish chiefs know what role they're supposed to be playing and how they're supposed to play that role. At the launch of the program, almost half the parishes in the country did not have parish chiefs, and therefore we're going to start with, you know, the recruitment of parish chiefs. On the ground, Honorable Chiwanda, yes, this campaign promise was made. Yes, this is part of National Development Plan 3. And yes, you know, government went ahead and started to roll out. The people supposed to be custodians at the parish level, the parish chiefs, are they now prepared? Because if government mobilizes the money, they are going to send this money. And it seems like the method you're now using is, if we send you less, next time we're going to put it together and send you even the balance.
Yes. Even the roles of the parish chiefs, it's been shifting since the inception of the parish development model. At first, the parish chiefs, being a focal person of the program at the parish level, he or she was not supposed to be a signatory at first. Then time came, new guidelines were issued. They said that the parish chiefs now are focal people and they are signatories on the account. Of recent, I've heard that they've since changed, that the parish chief is no longer a signatory. So you see, by doing all that, shows lack of preparation. The program of the parish development model would be very good, but the level of preparation to have this done, Gabriel, I can admit, it wasn't really done very well. And secondly, the politicization of the program. When the program comes and it has a lot of politics around it, one is that people will not appreciate its importance. People will not be able to pick out the best out of it. Of course, all what people will be looking at probably being appreciated because we voted so and so.
Honorable Chiwanda, is that what you told people when, you know, during the campaign? We are bringing this thing for you, yes.
Yes.
But government, we give you the parish money.
Let me tell you is that even the roads that we do, we can say that a government comes And we say, if you vote us into power, we shall be able to do the roads, we shall be able to do the oil and all that. It is a manifesto. It is a manifesto. But at the time of implementation, then it becomes to be a government program. Of course, every government, every party would like its manifesto to be implemented by the government. The only advantage you get as a ruling party is that your manifesto is put into government and is budgeted for, and at the end of the day it's implemented, and definitely people appreciate. But when it comes to the point that people are attaching, even the Myoga program, because the Myoga, one of the things that make it fail is that the Myoga is headed by at a constituency level, which constituency level is headed by almost the member of parliament. Because at a constituency level, there is no administrative structure at a constituency level, apart from a member of parliament, because the county executive or the county arrangement is no longer in the villages. There's nothing like called LOC4. Actually, after LOC1, LOC3, it's LOC5. The LOC4 is no longer on the ground. So if you say program is being implemented at the constituency level, the member of parliament takes the charge. He thinks that because the only person at a constituency level is a member of parliament, and the member of parliament is not government. He is actually part of the legislature, is not the executive. And of course, when you go to the villages today and talk about the village, the Myoga money, the Myoga money were either taken by the campaigners of the members of parliament, and they have to defend them. Even when you go to demand for this money so that this money goes to another person, definitely this money is not there. The members of parliament selected their own people. These people picked the money and they're defending them. You see somebody even got a man on the Myoga program who has never even ridden a border, has never been on a border stage. The border people are demanding for the money, but the money is taken by somebody who has never been on this border stage. Now coming to the parish development model. The model itself, one, it is that surprisingly, there was a program called, it was under Office of the Prime Minister. It used to be PCM, it is Parish Communities, PCA, Parish Community Associations. That was, it's like the financial inclusion, because as Jenny was saying, parish development model has 7 pillars.
Right.
But of course, the pillar that we are talking so much about,
Pillar 3 on financial inclusion. Yes.
Yes, but because people have seen these other pillars. Because when you talk about marketing, there is no way you're going to tell me that the products are going to be marketed.
Well, the 7 pillars, if I could them very
Yes.
quickly. The first is production,
Yes.
storage, processing, and marketing. The second is infrastructure and economic services. The third, which most people know about, is the pillar on financial inclusion. Then the fourth on social services. The fifth on mindset change and cross-cutting issues. That's gender, environment, disability. And then the sixth is the parish-based management information system. This is the system which is supposed to manage all this. And then finally, on governance and administration. Those are the 7 pillars of
But
parish
apart
development
from
model.
putting them in paper like that, how? You know, because when you talk about marketing, like Jenny was, the way she was putting it, she was saying that yes, when you talk about productivity, you need the extension workers on the ground. A parish chief, we don't have an extension worker at the parish. Actually, the highest government office at the parish is the parish chief. And at the parish, that, apart from the parish chief, the rest are politicians. These are chairpersons, LOC2, the executive, and the rest. And what's new that is going to be brought in production and productivity under parish development model, that's not being at the sub-county. Because, yes, when you talk about an extension worker, these are the same people that have been at the sub-county. What went wrong by these people not going to the parishes and guide the farmers? Is it the document? The answer is no. What has prevented, say, the agriculture officer, the person in charge of apiary, the person in terms of animal husbandry at the sub-county, what has prevented that person to go to the parish And the sub-county extension worker, say the sub-county agriculture officer is a boss to the parish chief. Because the parish chief in the line is lower. So this time I don't think that you are going to empower the parish chief beyond reasonable doubt that the parish chief is now going to coerce the extension work from the sub-county to come and guide the farmers. So apart from using a lot of words, I don't see anything new in the whole thing. Because the only thing, that's why people are concentrating on financial inclusion, because the only new thing that's not being it's not being there. What is actually lacking is the implementation.
All right.
I personally have created WhatsApp groups in the constituents. I combine through parishes here, and I combine them with an extension work, because I know, okay, your extension work, if you cannot be able to go to the people, at least to advise them, I mobilize people, I form them like 3-4 parishes into WhatsApp group. In that particular WhatsApp group, I put the person in charge of fisheries, I put the person in terms of in charge of animal husbandry, a person in terms of crop husband, so that he can guide them. But you hardly see this for even commenting. Really. So there must be something
you add them,
fundamental.
do you also give them data? Because
no, of course, if you can see them commenting some other things, when there is a political debate on a group, you see somebody fully participating. But when it comes to somebody asking what is the right seed to be planted in this period, which kind of fertilizer should I use on maize, what kind of spacing, because this should be the time. Now the rains actually have begun. And at this time, I would expect my extension workers now being engaged on social media with the young people. If you want to plant maize, the best spacings, like, because because now the time has become digital. You know when you are planting pana, when you are planting this kind of maize, this is the spacing. If you are going to do, say, silage, the spacing should be like this. If you are growing for grain, the space. This should be the time for such people. Even on local radios, even on Novizindaros in the villages. Then, that's why people are concentrating on the financial inclusion. The financial inclusion, the parish, it was already chewed by the PCA. Under PCA, government would take 30 million shillings. We began, like in my constituency, we began with 6 parishes. We took 30 million shillings per parish. And that money, a small association of a certain village would write a proposal that so-and-so, Gabriel, Jane, Godfrey needs, say, 500,000 shillings. He's beginning a business. He wants to buy fertilizers for his maize, maybe seeds, because 500,000 shillings for somebody who's going to grow 1 acre of maize will increase productivity, because that person will be able to buy, like, for example, the grain Parish, the fertilizer, very good seeds. You can be able to have the holes in time. You can be able to have everything be time, just 500,000 shillings, and you can increase double even your productivity. But now, that person would be really supported by the group and recommended to the parish, and that person gets the money, does this, pays back through the group, and the man takes back. And when you advise, I told the Prime Minister that the best way now, just improve on the fund, because what these other people have been doing, if they don't have such money, such cheap capital at a parish, people would go to money lenders. And that's what the parish development model wanted to chew, the financial inclusion. Parish development model wanted to provide cheap capital.
Okay.
But now, in the provision of cheap capital, Gabriel, what is the biggest problem here is that you cannot tell me that you are providing cheap capital, but you are only identifying some families, and you are going to give 1 million flat. 1 million flat to do what? Because actually, when they mentioned this, I went to somebody who works with me at my farm. They said, Mr. Katantas, if I give you 1 million today, what would you do? Because he comes, I give him 10,000. What? They told him, Godfrey, when I called him honorable, when I get this money, I'll buy 4 cows. He doesn't have even any calculation, because he thinks that 1 million is too big. So what does that mean? That somebody who is not involved in the money economy, You cannot just force somebody that by giving that person 1 million shillings, you are involving that person into money economy. Definitely that person, if you distribute that money within 1 month, that money would have gone back to the people who have even more money in the village other than this person, and the situation is going to be even worse.
All right. Honorable Chiwanda raises a number of things. We need to be taking a break very soon. So if I may just ask you in relation to the pillars, 2 pillars received quite a bit of attention from the committee of Parliament when it was giving its report. And it was the 2 pillars, obviously, on financial inclusion, but also the pillar on mindset change. Part of what Honorable talks about here is really mindset change. Have we done enough to change the mindset? Because at the moment, yes, government money is for eating.
But whose mindset needs to be changed, by the way? Maybe we are looking at it from a different angle. You know? Because
It could be
it
could be those who introduced the program,
yes,
whose mindset needs to change.
When I listen to what Honorable is saying, which is the truth, because we need to interrogate what financial inclusion means. It doesn't mean when you give somebody money, you know, somebody comes and gives you 2 billion, you know. Just the absorption rate, you know, you can't absorb it. It's the 1 million to that gentleman secretary as you are talking about, you know. You give that person money, you know, he has no idea on how to use it, you know, and then you say that's financial inclusion. That isn't. That is not financial inclusion. And it goes then back to mindset change. Who needs a mindset change?
So actually it's government.
For me, I think these policymakers and government people. Yes, they do. Because they are, you know, the way they are defining things, the way that we want to put money, to give people money. Either you give charity and people will know, this money is for eating. Then that's okay. And don't talk about financial inclusion. You are talking about giving people money like you promised. People who voted you, you promised to give you money. You have given money and they are going to eat that money, you know. Or else we go back on the drawing board, look at what financial inclusion means, and then chart a way forward on how we can be able to do it. So when it comes to mindset change, everybody is a candidate for mindset change. You know, let us not point fingers at other people. You know, they say when you point one finger at somebody, 3 or 4 fingers are pointing at you. You know, so for me, I think the entire the most important pillar is mindset change. And the mindset change is for all of us, you know, to be able to change our mindset and be able to understand these issues, be able to appreciate what can work, what can't work, and be able to really accept that if we are going to get out of poverty, things have to be done differently, very, very differently. So let us concentrate on that pillar of mindset change. Maybe we can be able to salvage such programs.
All right. Viewer, we need to take a break at this point, but stay with us because after this break, we will continue this discussion. We definitely have got to hear from our panelists what their suggested way forward is. So please stay with us. The debate continues after these messages.
This is Seetv. Don't blink.
Seetv is now on StarTimes. You can now catch all your favorite programs, our daily comprehensive news bulletins, and so much more on StarTimes channel number 248. Stay tuned for a world of endless possibilities. Seetv. Don't blink.
Sometimes in life, we spend all the time trying to live other people's life. And along the way, we lose who we are by copying what other people are doing in their relationship.
You see, from the last time I met your sister, I've not spent a day or a minute without thinking about her.
It's a good surprise on a Monday. This is nice.
So you and him are
We're just friends.
Wow.
Come on.
just friends.
You either tell me where you're from, or you go back to where you've been. Thinking it would work out for us, but yet to find out that's not who we are after experiencing a great disappointment.
She's in love with some other man, so classy, a gentleman, not poor dogs like you.
These are the mistakes girls do.
Now showing on Seetv. Don't blink. This is Seetv. Don't blink.
Welcome back from the break. Thank you for staying with us here on Seetv. Is the big debate, and today we're looking at the parish development model. This model, parish development model, at the beginning of the year, particularly 26th of February 2022. This is supposed to, deal with the poverty issue, looking at the parish as the, epicenter or the place where this change can begin from. Our two guests have shared their views on, the structure of the parish development model and probably where it was gotten wrong. We ended off the first segment of the show talking about mindset change, and one of our guests said everybody's mind needs to be, there's got to be mindset change for all the people involved, starting with those that design the program, those in government, and even those who are to benefit from the program if it is to succeed. Well, our two guests, Ms. Jane Nalunga, the Executive Director of Seetv Uganda, and the Honorable Godfrey Chiwanda Subi, who is a Vice Chairperson of the NRM Buganda region, former Minister and MP, served 3 different, terms in Parliament, right? Yes, excellent. Well, even as it's looking very grim, with the parish development model not really, delivering the way it was expected to. If we could just look at an aspect here of the, returning of the money. Right now, as the parishes are not even receiving the amount that was promised. Honorable Chiwanda, what's the expectation in terms of, returning of the money? Because it's supposed to be a revolving fund. And you said you'd give X amount of money. You haven't given that amount of money. Are they still expecting people to bring back what they've gotten so far?
Of course, people cannot bring what they've not received. But me, I'm very happy that they've not received. Very happy. Because I know it's going to be wasted. First of all, this is taxpayers' money. And it's an opportunity cost because we are foregoing other alternatives. There are very many other things probably would have done out of this money. But we are saying that instead of doing that, for example, maybe let's give this money out. We're talking money in trillions. These are trillions of money.
Right.
Yes.
So is government considering the option of halting the program for now as we get better prepared, as we mobilize more
Of
resources?
course, I cannot talk because I'm not part of government. Me, I'm a party leader. I'm just disappointed when I don't see
Your party is the one in government.
Yes,
Your party
but,
is running the country.
There's a difference, but I would feel very uncomfortable when my manifesto is not implemented well, because I know at the end of the day I'll go back and voters and they will ask the same questions of what we promised, whether what we promised is being fulfilled. And it's my time now to demand from government that government does it well, that really the questions that I'm going to be asked in the field, probably they are not as many as they would be if the programs are not implemented well. So to me, when the money is not yet sent to the villages, I'm happy about it. Because I checked with some of my leaders. You go, people talk, they will tell you that chairman has made sure, first of all, the man talks about this, the program talks about household. Household is different from homestead. A homestead is bigger than a household. For example, if you go to Karamoja, you can find about 5 homes within one homestead. Now, and people are using this, some of the corrupt local leaders. You find somebody has filled in 7 or 8 of his or her family members. Whoever has turned 18, that's already now a household. You see, you find somebody's home, but they be having like 7 homes out of a homestead. A son has turned 18, that one is registered now, is going to get PDM. And you see, all the money, the 100 or 17 million shillings that we've been talking about, might even go to about 2 for families. Because in the village, when we talk about a family, that is Oruja, it is a homestead. And if a chairperson of a certain village is having relatives, and all those are different households within a homestead. So, because you've not collected the data, you don't know where these people are. They write their own people, their own relatives, and at the end of the day, the 17, the 50 million, the 25 million shillings that we are talking about, they will end up into one family. Because you cannot send the money first, then you look for the data. You should have the data first. And my point is, you should not, how do you send 100 million shillings to me? Are there 100 families that are needed, that need money in my parish? Because, yes, Jen was saying that, I will not say that, we don't, some leaders should not say we don't need this money in my village or in my parish. Okay, we may be needing the money. Of course, she made even that clarification. For example, the money, what I need in my parish now are processors. I want coffee harras in my village. Everyone is involved in coffee. But you cannot distribute 1 million shillings per person and you think we shall be able to buy a coffee hara. Yeah.
All right. This money is actually for, yes, the category of, the description of the people to benefit from this money.
Yes.
Is the one that, the gentleman from Bushenyi was saying, that category does not exist in my village.
Exactly. Because that's what I wanted to make a clarification. Because Jen was saying, but I think leaders need to be, because this money, this particular money, for example, now when I talk to my farmers, we've been teaching them to do what we call, I think after growing the maize, you do that one, we crush it for the cows. That is
processing. You process it.
You process it. No. I mean the fresh maize.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Okay. And those are the machines that are needed in my place every 2 parishes, so that it can be transferred maybe from Jenny's place to my place. And we need milk coolers. And if you distribute money 1 million to Katantas, I will not be able to get the cooler. But if I'm empowered, the Katantas will be able to work comfortably at my place. Let me tell you, because the government thinks that you can have all the people at the same level, it's not possible.
Okay.
Because if this empowerment, let me tell you, if I have 100 or 200 million shillings at the parish, And a certain group called the Barichejusa goes there and they say, we need a motorcycle that is going to collect our milk. By doing that, somebody is going to be involved and somebody is going to be employed. And by doing that, of course, I was talking about the silage machines. They've grown maize and they need now silage machines. A machine probably goes to about 10 or 12 million shillings. And of course, once these people have you've given money and they can borrow that money probably from a parish and they can have this machine will be able to give more jobs because you are going to production, productivity is going to increase, and we shall be able to employ more people.
All right.
So it is, the whole thing is self-defeating. It has a lot of words. That's why every day we see them, they go back to cabinet, then the rules are changed, the guidelines are changed, because there was a lack of preparation. The books, they are producing books, but they say, no. If you read this book, they say, no, that is another version. We produced another version, a version after version. And once you've created in people's mind that you are going to distribute money, because there is no way you are telling Gabriel that you are not going to distribute money when you've even given a figure. We are going to give out 1 million. Once you mention a figure, that is money distribution.
Money distribution. Well, and I know that we can spend quite a bit of time on that, but we've got to move. And the young people, because yes, we're lifting people out of poverty, the number of young people in poverty is alarming. Trying to create jobs from the lowest level, number of young people without jobs is also quite alarming. The young people have come in and their ask seems to be, at least through their leaders, is that they want a key role in monitoring the implementation. In your view, is this how the young people can best get involved in the parish development model and its implementation?
But I think the question should be, because what they want jobs. They want to get out of poverty. And for them, the answer to get jobs and get out of poverty is to monitor implementation of PDM. I don't think they are going to get jobs when they are monitoring the PDM, the implementation of the PDM. And when you look at already what we are saying, that the PDM won't work, and I think we need to do a litmus test. I remember one time the late Mokapa, the
president of Tanzania.
There was an agreement we were negotiating between the EAC and the European Union. And the European Union was pushing that this agreement is good for you. And Mokapa put a number of questions, said, will this agreement help us to increase our production and productivity? Will it help us to create decent jobs? Will it get our people out of poverty? Will we be able to export value-added products? And he gave a number of questions. And he said, if the answer is yes to all these questions, go ahead and sign. And this is what I want to tell the young people. Look at the PDM, and ask, will this PDM be able to help create decent jobs for us? We'll be able to get out of poverty, And if the answer is yes, then go ahead and monitor its implementation. But if the conceptualization, the design, of the PDM has challenges, and for you are saying we are going to monitor implementation, for me I think it's self-defeating. It won't work. And for me, I think the young people should stop jumping on bandwagons. PDM, they jump. Interrogate it, and concentrate on its mechanism. Will it be able to work for us or not? But people are just gearing, to have a piece of the PDM, you know. Whether it works or not, somebody wants to get a piece of that. And for me, I think even for the young people, don't go into saying you want to monitor implementation. Because if the PDM is wrong, the design is wrong, the conceptualization is wrong, so what are you going to monitor, you know? So they should go to they should really concentrate their energies on ensuring that work, and that means going back to look at how it's designed, how it's conceptualized. I wanted to go back to the issue, to issues that Honorable raised, issues of common user facilities. And as Seetv, we have been pushing for this. Give parishes, give communities common user facilities, coffee hallers, you know, put it there, you know. And what he's saying, Honorable, what he's saying is very critical. You give 1 million, you know, that money ends up, like the saying goes, to buy tomatoes, you know. Yet if you give that, you buy a common user facility, be it a coffee halla, be it groundnut, you know, or you know, or those machines, food grade machines which make OD. It can help the community, you know. So I think for me that's really important, the common user facility, and we have been pushing for that as Seetv. Another issue which Honorable has raised, the issue of opportunity cost. For me, sometimes I think these initiatives are a bit diversionary, you know. We shouldn't be talking about PDM really. At this time where the economy is, when the country is indebted, when people are impoverished. And you know, Gabriel, Honorable, these days we want to change also the language. People are not poor, you know. People are impoverished by such initiatives which don't work for them, you know. So when you look at a country which is impoverished, we should be talking about viable policies and policy implementation which can be able to take us out of this poverty. We should be gearing towards ensuring that we use the available markets. We have the ESC market. We are negotiating the CFTA. European Union told us bring everything but arms. I understand the other time the AGOA secretary was saying, no, let us extend AGOA for another many years, but what are we taking there? You know, these are things which we should be looking at. And any initiative which is going to work should be able to link the households, the parishes to those viable markets. But I don't see the PDM doing that. And the moment you tell people to produce more without a viable market, you are enslaving them. You are impoverishing them further. And I keep giving an example of the pineapples. The people who are producing pineapples are being impoverished, you know, because you can't buy 7-10 pineapples on the street at 10,000 when the farmer is not being impoverished, when the farmer had to buy the fertilizers, buy the seedlings and all that, you know. So let us rethink these models.
All right. Honorable Chiwanda, as we go into thinking about, you know, rethinking these models and whether these models, you know, eradicate poverty or impoverish, you know, the locals, you know, times, and this is a common thing that you, the politicians, tell us. You say the people ask for these things. That, you know, this is really demand driven. The parish development model, where was the demand?
Some time back, the president made trips into the community. Of course, he was mobilizing people in his big heart of seeing people that people should be earning money. The president came and gave us a brief. Said, I've identified 3 kinds of people. Actually, yes, 3 kinds of people on the ground. 1, those that have started something, but they need some capital to push them. 2, those that have ideas and they've started nothing. But if they are given capital, they can begin something. Number 3, those that have actually taken off. Those are the 3 kinds of people that when he came back, he told us. Then we asked him, so how are we going to handle this? Of course, the 2 kinds of people, those that have started something and they need some push, and those that have not started anything but they have ideas and they've woken up, of course, probably to begin working and earning, they need a kickstart capital. So all these initiatives that you've been seeing, the president government is bringing, is probably to cure the 2 categories of people. Some of those people that actually have begun something, but they need some push. And I think that's when he came up with the Myoga. And you know Myoga, because Myoga goes to people that have actually started saloon. That's why we came up with the 17 enterprises. You see the saloon, you see the carpenters, you talk about, of course, there is also another mog of leaders. I don't know what leaders do, but because leaders also be involved in the other.
Because last time you're leaving us out.
No, but because a leader, you can either be a farmer,
right?
Because the
leaders should be involved in sort of production.
Yes.
Because politics is not.
It's not a profession.
Yes, it's not a money-making venture.
It is not.
It is.
So, so when you come up with a Moga, called leaders Moga, what is that? Because what kind of production and productive activity are you doing into the leadership? Yes, because I can't be a member of parliament. I'm the vice chairperson of the NRM, but I'm a farmer. I grow maize. My wife, we do a lot of poultry at home. We do what? We grow fruits. We do this. So if government is funding in any of those projects, definitely we shall still benefit out of there instead of creating for us as leaders. What is that? As leaders,
you sit and discuss.
The point is, the president wanted to address the 2 categories: people that actually have started something, and that's why the man of the Myoga came.
And then the people who had ideas, but
people have ideas, but they have probably they picked. They know, okay, we've woken up also. Let's begin something. That's when I think the president thought about probably when we create PDM. Probably a gap deal that has never been involved in any of the activities under Myoga probably would use this money and be kick-started and begin something. So whatever program that you see, I think the president under his heart want to see how do we have these people started, how do we promote them. So now the issue is that which vehicle should we use to really carry on with these people? Which kind of program that actually can support those who have started something, those that I need to start something that they've woken up, and that's when, for me, when I look at the 2 programs, that's the target.
Honorable Chiwanda, with all due respect, isn't this just groping in the dark? Because programs have been done previously. One would expect that what you do is assess the performance of these projects that have been done previously. You know, look at the areas where they failed, why they failed, and come up with something robust. Learn from what has failed and what has worked probably elsewhere. But then, you know, it seems like we just keep groping in the dark. Now this new big idea, now this other new big idea. And even when we decide to implement, for example, parish development model, boom, whole country, 10,579 parishes all at once.
Actually, we still have a problem of piloting. You know, it's very important that government program need to be piloted always. But by the way, it's also a culture. Some people even don't want to proofread what they've written. You know, do you know that very few people typeset something, does on his or her phone, then sends without proofread, because they think that they are taking so long to proofread about 2, 3, 4 statements, and you end up sending a mistake, and afterwards you want to recall it,
right?
And you end up. So it's a weakness, by the way. It's a very big weakness. If some people, proofread just what you've written. So that's what the government is also at times fell into, because they probably think that if we begin with 2, 3 parishes, this is already a ready program. Let's move. Let's implement 100%. But piloting these projects are very, very important. But Gabriel, some programs probably have worked. We cannot have also a blanket statement that all programs have fully failed. I began with a certain program that I used and that program was targeting younger graduates. And those really of my group who took this loan and seriously, they didn't remain the same. I've seen my friends who began business out of the youth entrepreneur scheme. It was called YES program. In my usual campaigns as a regional vice chairperson, I went through some districts. I've seen some people who are talking good about NADS. I personally went through, when I was in Akasongola, I found somebody with about 7 acres of mangoes and is saying everything that you got all the seedlings out of NADS. But still NADS also had its own issues. I found somebody who was uprooting about 5 acres of mangoes. I said, why are you doing this? Because we were given these mangoes by the soldiers. First of all, the soldiers didn't know what they were giving. The soldiers, they were not extension workers. The only thing the soldiers would do
efficiently distribute. Yes, conveyor belt. Yes.
If you are given,
you have 3 villages to give out. Give out for yes.
Now people are uprooting these mangoes because afterwards, of course, somebody told me that afterwards they gave me a certain type, but he told me that this type a year gives me 30,000 shillings per tree, but this other type gives me 120,000 shillings. So the more I keep this tree, I'm losing over 90,000 shillings per year. So I rather change now. But of course, somebody said, but I appreciate that much as I'm uprooting, but at least government wakened me up and told me that mangoes are actually an enterprise that you can do. But now, why the wastage of time, the seedlings, all these?
Yeah.
And now
the resources put into getting the seedlings, but also distributing them because
distributing them, and even this farmer.
Right.
This farmer is because he was uprooting over 5 acres. Now the thing is, if we are going into this, because the issue was not just giving out the seedlings, but what type of seedlings are you giving out? Some people hacked. Now people used to hacking into the phone. And now people hacked into the program, get to know that government is going to distribute seedlings, gets any kind of thing. They create beds, nursery beds,
and distribute to government.
Now people in my village are putting coffee. Because it was coffee, because now afterwards, of course, we went with the debate about with productivity. We said, now in my village, it's no longer about how many trees of coffee you have, how much does each tree give you. Right. That's the competition. Now I've created even a competition, every parish who has the highest, which tree that gives us the highest kilograms. And now people are competing on that. And I know by now, in each parish, it's Gabriel with the best coffee. Maybe having about 20 or 50, but now our target is on productivity. Now people are saying that no, however much I can put fertilizers on this or what, but the seedlings that were given to us were bad. There is nothing as bad as in farming as planting a bad seed. You can do whatever. You can put fertilizers, but as long as a bad seed. I was planting. One day I changed my banana plantation. I sent one of my agriculture person, bring me the nsukus. I call them the banana what?
Suckers.
Yes, the suckers. But let me tell you, 5 acres I was getting nothing for over like 4 years. Until when I had to uproot everything. But you know how much money I had used? You have to mulch, you have to do what? Thinking that by adding, probably it will improve. And that's the biggest problem we have in the country. And since it's an agricultural country, what do we do? Right. Because as of now, we rather even have extension workers at the parish, other than even the parish chief. Because parish chief are there for tax collection. We are no longer collecting taxes. We rather have a tax, an extension worker in every parish. Because what's the use of having one agriculture officer in a sub-county which has over 5,000 homesteads, households? What kind of advice can this person? How many can he visit anyway? So the point is, we could have learned all these programs. Of course, they had some weaknesses here and there, but we've been moving. But the point is, yes, all these mistakes, the mistakes that we had maybe in PDA, in modern culture, in youth livelihood, in the women empowerment money, in the YES program, in NADS, in what? So all this should be they should have built enough experience. And my point is that we should not now commit a bigger mistake in PDM. All these other programs would have been a learning experience, so that now we have a better program out of all these programs. That is what I would before.
All right, better program. The parish development model focuses on agriculture and really looking at productivity, and lifting those, 39% in subsistence into the money economy. Is agriculture the answer?
Yes, that's a big yes. Because you need to cut your coat according to the clothes you have. And the clothes we have are how many people in the agriculture sector in the rural areas. And if we are going to get people out of poverty, we need to start from agriculture. But agriculture which is not linked, those backward and forward linkages between production and productivity, post-harvest handling, industrialization, value addition, and marketing. Unless you do that chain right, then you are not addressing the challenges facing agriculture. And when I was listening to Honorable, looking at all those challenges, and I was saying maybe that's where we should start from, really debating and agreeing on the existing challenges, and then being able to see what answers, what needs to be done to be able to address those challenges. But today what's happening, somebody sits and said, okay, now this one, that one, take the money. And I think we can't really move like that. Honorable has pointed out that the programs, some of them are okay, and I hear some people saying Operation Wealth Creation helped. Some people got seedlings and inputs, But for me, the problem is that these programs are maybe almost like an end in themselves. PDM, it's the bullet, it's a silver bullet. It has its own pillars. But the pillars which is duplicating already existing pillars. You take an example of infrastructure. Then you say, is the parish chief going to do infrastructure? What are they going to do? You think about that. But you see the idea, and for people who are saying the idea is okay, the idea is not bad, because poverty is at the household level. That's where poverty is, the impoverishment. That's where it is, and that's where we have to find solutions. And also the parish development model also turns upside down the ideology of trickle down, you know, starting from up and it trickles down. This is a bottom up, you know, but the design is wrong, you know. Even when we are saying a bottom up, we need to do it better.
Do you picture government going back to the foundation of this thing, accepting that the design is wrong and fixing it from that level?
Yeah, you know, it really takes somebody who is really confident to say, okay, let us go back on the drawing board. You know, it's that confidence, you know, and the fact that you listen, you can be able to listen, you know. But if it's political, that we promised people are waiting for their money, and I know Honorable will say people are formed circles, people are waiting for the money. And you remember what Honorable Chiwanda said? They even know the amount of money. You know, for me, I think that's where
if it comes less, just know we'll add it to the one coming later. So
now,
is this
how
a
come
bold move that the government can take and actually go back to the drawing table in relation to PDM?
To me, is that what people want, of course, in the villages, and they also want a successful story. Really, people want a successful story. If you...
Honorable people...
Yes. No, it is because that's what Jen was also saying, that if we are talking about mindset change, it should begin with us. Because if the people are going, we know that people want free money. That means the mindset change should begin with us. That people don't just want free money, but people want capital to make sure that they move on.
But you only want to see the reality. Let us talk about the reality.
The reality,
that's the reality I'm talking about.
Yes, of course. Now it goes back on the way you prepare that person. If that person, you prepare that person, know you are going to have 1 million. Everyone is now calling, how do I get that 1 million?
Precisely.
Instead of saying, how do I use that 1 million
Precisely.
to develop?
Excellent. Yes. Now,
yes.
And so, back to the question, can the government take a bold move of actually going back to the drawing table?
To me, if I meet the president, I know I'll be able to meet him when we have a literate as Central Executive Committee member. And we have time to talk about the PDM. My answer is that we should go back to the drawing board, rethink about this program. Yes, Mr. President, you want to make sure that our people have cheap capital, but we can have this cheap capital even in a better way. Because what we are talking about in parish development model, in PDM, is not actually cheap capital, is distribution of money.
All right. Because of time, we have to bring this to a close. But there's a question I'd like both of you to respond to before I get your way forward. And the question is this. We are all aware of the economic squeeze that's taking place. People are struggling at various levels. Not too long ago, we had places that were even struggling, you know, with starvation, and people were dying. Enter government money. How do we ensure that people don't end up eating this money? Because if you don't have food to feed your family, then money shows up at the parish. Regardless of what they say that money is for. Once it gets into your hand, there is a need in the stomach. There's people at home that their needs to be met. How do we avoid this money going to solving the day-to-day problem we are very aware people have? Jen, let's begin with you.
Okay. You know, Gabriel, it isn't the people who are starving who have started eating this money. You have seen the stories out there.
Yes.
Have you heard that it's the
chief
people...
administrative officers
exactly.
are taxing the money
for their salaries.
Yes, there's
exactly.
a place where it's being used to pay salaries.
Exactly. So it isn't the starving people. And we go back to the PDM. Is it working or not? And for me, I think if we are to address the challenges facing this country, including, for example, nobody should really die of hunger in Uganda. Nobody, nobody should die of hunger. It's even an issue of distribution, because in one place there is food, in another place people are starving. In one place people are starving, in another place government is spending money on parties and all that. So it's that balancing, but that's a short term. But in the long term, we need to do better planning for this country. Development is not by accident and gambling. You don't stumble on development. Oh, I was there, I saw these people go and do that. That is not development. Development is, deliberate policy, deliberate plan, looking at the immediate and the future,
Right.
And we haven't. And for me, I think that's what we need to do. And for me, I think also these programs, they are okay if they are done right. Operation Wealth Creation, about giving, it's supporting the mainstream. We have agriculture, but we have a specific program giving inputs and seedlings. That's okay, but you don't turn that program into the in-thing, and then you even put the existing structures on the side, create parallel structures that won't work.
No.
And we are just going to waste resources.
Honorable?
Um,
And this will also be your way forward, because Jen took us in the direction of now giving the way forward. Just have 4 minutes.
Yeah, to me, is that, of course, you talked about people eating the money when they are starving. The message is PD. It's very close to per diem.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
So, and it confuses them. To the local people are given this money, are eating it. And of course, what kind of information that is received also on the ground when they hear that chief administrative officers are embezzling. And when it goes, it's like already a foregone conclusion whether it's going to be eaten or not. But to me, is that I don't also agree with the starvation, or as Jane saying, in Uganda, we are harvesting maize, at the same time we are planting. It's the whole place is green. Of course, there is some kind of matoke is not as much as it used to be like in the last 2 months, but even when matoke is not there, there is potato, there is this. Once people can still, because our biggest advantage as a country is our culture, is our, it's where we have the biggest advantage. And now, as the president always told us, it's a commercial agriculture. Commercial agriculture. In commercial culture, you cannot talk about a commercial culture without talking about the first 3 pieces that I talked about. People need to be guided. People research should be done. People given projections of markets. If we know that in the next 3-4 months, vanilla will be here, we shall be having this. These are kind of the information. Actually, let me tell you, Gabriel, people are not lazy. Because they, people, some told me that the young people needing If you how have you prepared? Out of my, it's one of the mindset change. It should be practical.
All right.
People